extra and just more opportunities for our friends that we serve.
Can I just add one thing to that too? Some of the schools also participate in that. There's one at Apollo. They have a little thing like that with children's books in there too for people to just take. So it's a wonderful program. Thank you.
Okay, so if you want to get with me, we can verify places, and if you need help,
Okay,
I'd be
awesome.
glad to help you with that too.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Any other public comment? Yes, sir. Name and address. 3 minutes.
Pardon?
3 minutes.
Okay. Dennis Raymond, 6039 Fish Lake Road. Alright, I got some stuff I want to give to you. So you can follow me and there's no discrepancies in what I have to say. Okay, it's second meeting already for me on this problem and still haven't got anything resolved. And the only person I talked to on the board has been Tammy, and that's about it. Now, I'm going to cover some stuff that I've been told before that, you know, I have problems with. One of them is the duties of the ordinance officer. The first pass out is investigation of ordinance violations. All right, I have been told, it says investigation. It means that if I make a complaint, the ordinance officer investigates. It's not the other way around, Mr. Hamill, like I've been told. Because of these no trespassing signs, you keep putting it on me, I need to have an affidavit. If she would have done what she was supposed to do, we wouldn't have this fiasco. Okay? It's been going on now. August will be 1 year. 1 year. Okay? I don't do the investigation for you. She does. Okay? That's what it says here.
Okay,
Also
let's
appears
repeat what you said the last meeting. So
right, okay. Board, and then when my neighbor and I were there to see you, you told me that, and him, that you didn't know who Lisa reported to. You said your hands were tied, and that she was an officer of the court. Right. It says right here that this board appoints her. It says right here in your ordinance. It means she's your boss. So why did you tell me that you didn't know who she reported to?
That is not what I said, sir. So that's your opinion.
No, I'll
Let
get
me
my
finish
neighbor.
with this one. I'm going to interrupt you on that.
Okay.
Because what you did is you asked me, what could we do? What did I do for you? I got you an interview, sit down with our attorney. You then nitpick the attorney, and the other things that you have done is everything we've asked you to do, you have also refused to do.
The reason why...
So we can only do certain things
Okay.
in certain order.
All right, so I'm going to tell you why after the court, when I sent letters and pictures, and why didn't she do something right then and there? Okay, you didn't need me back then, so don't tell me this. Then when the no trespassing sign went up, she couldn't go there. I have 57 emails. You want me to bring them out over here and show
No,
you?
you don't need to do this.
Okay, so why are you telling me I refuse because it says she's supposed to do her job and she didn't do it? Okay, she didn't do it. 57 emails before she contacted you. 6 months. And you're telling me that I refused? Yeah, because she didn't do it. It says right there, investigate the order. I make a complaint, she investigates. I don't investigate, that's her job. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Now, after all this happened, she told me she has to go to Stockard with the building inspector because he didn't get a permit for his pole barn. That's been February. That hasn't happened. What's the excuse? She has to inspect his ponds. He requested a permit. Hasn't been done. The fire chief can go with Lisa and inspect it, okay? You also, now that's Stockard, so there's 5 affidavits. Why don't you get all of those people to file an affidavit? Then I'll sign mine. She hasn't done it yet.
Well,
So
okay,
no.
so what I'm going to do is, I gave you 3 minutes, your 3 minutes is up.
My dear, fine.
And here's my point. The reason for this is rehashing everything.
No, it's not. I'm not done with the rest of it.
You have already been through this stuff once. And what we asked you to do was to sign an affidavit. And we
What
could have
about
had
you?
him in court.
What about you
I
signing?
can't sign an affidavit
Why?
because I didn't do anything.
You've seen him driving his
Yes.
trucks into SA Lane.
I can see him doing that, and it's not part of my responsibility or
Well, then
my
how is
ability.
it my
Gary,
responsibility?
would you like to, if you have anything to say
How is
about
it
that?
my responsibility? Why can't she go down there and the fire inspector go down there and look for his permit. What are you gonna tell me?
The fire inspector can look for fire-related issues. He cannot turn that issue into what issue
Then you better
are.
read your appearance tickets right here, because it says, anybody in the township, including the fire inspector, fire officer, firefighters, are hereby specially authorized in accordance with state law, including the criminal code, to issue and serve upon a person appearance ticket if the officer, employee, or other individual has a reasonable cause to believe that the permit has committed a violation. There it is. Your
What
rules.
violation are you searching to get this guy on?
The police officer went
Pick
down
a
there.
violation and let's work on it.
The
You-
police
you're
officer
starting, sir.
issued.
Okay, excuse me, we're gonna have to terminate this at this point, I'm sorry for that, but, we've been through this, we're trying to help you, we're trying to get this situation solved. You don't wanna admit it, that's your issue.
What
We're
is
trying.
your
The
excuse?
sergeant or the lieutenant has tried.
He does, he's done his part. He issued a ticket for operating without a license. Yet, that is violation of state, and you got ordinance violation, you got code.
So
What
you're
are you
saying
gonna do?
we're doing what we can do, that's his job.
I haven't heard anything. Tammy's the only one that's talked to me. And you can't sign an affidavit, it's not your responsibility? Why?
It's not, because
Tell me
I'm
why.
not an officer of the court.
They're not officers of the court. It says it right there, in there.
Officer of the court, lieutenant's an officer of the court.
It says firefighters.
Firefighter for fire related.
You know, all you're doing is, you're just stonewalling, and all you're doing is
Please
making a
have a
bunch of
seat.
stuff. I will.
Right now.
I'll talk at the end. You just can't do it.
That's your opinion.
I got it
We've been
here.
trying to help you, sir, and you
haven't
have
done a
been
thing,
very
Hal.
rude in every respect about what you've
No, and
done.
your people haven't done anything either.
No, we
Okay?
haven't. That's your rudeness, so please
Fine,
stop.
we'll see it in court.
Take it to court. You're my guest.
I will.
All right, any other public comment? All right, we'll move on from there. Next item is pending business, proposed ordinance number 457. We had a public hearing on this one, presentation at the previous board meeting. It's an ordinance to amend the private road ordinance to alter the limits on road length, modify the threshold where paving is required, and allow for extensions of permits, incorporate fire code and department requirements. Now, you may have, hopefully everybody remembers that this really started with some questions on Mr. Cleve King's property and some land division and trying to help look at larger parcels or land pieces to be able to access them appropriately, and at the same time potentially not over encumber a property owner with some of the requirements that were in the previous ordinance or the current ordinance. Some of those are limits to road length, when paving's required, so on and so forth, and to allow for extension of permits, and also to put in for the fire department to be able to have input on the code and department requirements. So, does anybody have any questions on that? We did put together a committee that sat down with the planning department, and we went through the thing and came up, this is how we came up with this ordinance.
I would move to approve the amendment to ordinance number 457, described as follows. Ordinance to amend the private road ordinance to alter the limits on road length, modify the threshold where paving is required, allow for extensions of the permits, incorporate fire code and permit requirements.
Support. Can you add the word and adopt?
And
Adopt.
Support. I'll be happier.
We want to make you happy here.
All right, it's been moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Coogan?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Next item is 7D, Community Transportation Program Guidelines. We attempted to introduce this at our last board meeting. There were a couple of changes that needed to be made. The in-house officials and the bus director, program director, went through, made the changes, and we'd like to represent it for approval, so. With corrections.
Kim has already.
One sentence on the first page that really doesn't belong there, I don't think, and I'd like to see that taken off. Under 7B, and I think it's a this is pointed at the board. It says, remember, drivers who park their buses at home aren't using gas or putting wear and tear on personal vehicles to get to or from work. And it really doesn't belong in a guideline for bus drivers, I don't think.
Anybody else, got any opposition to that?
I don't believe it was pointed at the board, I wouldn't oppose removing it. I think it was meant to communicate to the drivers, to remind them that, you know, they are benefiting from this as well as the transportation guidelines.
It's really not a guideline, it's kind of crazy
Yeah.
to put in there.
Instructed. Okay, so. Any other questions or comments? I'll make a motion to approve the Community Transportation Program driver bus operating procedures and guidelines as presented with the exception of Section 7 on page 1, item B. What's that?
Nothing, sorry.
Item 7B, very last statement in parentheses be struck. That sentence says, remember drivers who park the bus at home aren't using gas, nor putting wear and tear on personal vehicles to get to and from work.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Roll please.
I vote yes.
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 Yes?
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Okay.
I just want to thank the committee that worked on this, because this was a long time coming and a lot of, picking at it and everyone, and making changes and going back, and it's nice to have this finished. Thank you.
Support?
You're here. Okay. The next item is new business, 8A, which is public hearing for use requiring special approval number 17-02 for an expansion of existing child daycare center and preschool. The applicant is John Sparks Construction and property owner Andrea Saracen. All Stars Preschool LLC, parcel number 11-34-400-020, address known as 3290 South Hickory Ridge Road. So I'm opening the public hearing at 6:54. Any public comment on this?
What are they gonna do?
It's a daycare center that's been there for, I think, pretty close to 25 or 30 years. And it's on Hickory Ridge Road, due south of the trailer park, Ridgewood, I think it's called. And they are very popular daycare, they're out of space, and they'd like to add additional square footage, so that's what this is for.
What they gonna add?
The square footage is. Did you have to ask that question?
That book is really answered.
Oh, there you are, right there. I'm looking right at you.
About 3,200 square feet.
Thank you very much.
You gonna add on to the building? Or
No, actually, we build an additional building.
you're gonna build an additional building?
Correct, directly to the north of the existing building. About 60 feet north. Yep.
Okay, we're gonna need, sir, I'll need your name and address for the record.
Paul, P-A-R-D-O, 3295, South Hickory Ridge Road, Milford, Maryland, 48380. I'm directly across the street from this building.
Okay. That building, so if you're looking at their current building, it's beyond that, it's to the west, if I'm correct, or
You go
north.
behind it?
It's going to be
North.
Kind of
northwest, yes.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, the building is actually on a diagonal.
A little bit.
Yeah. So we'll follow the exact line of that building, not the due north, so we'll follow that. Yeah. And then-
Road work, stuff like that.
No, no.
Okay, I'm gonna need your name and address for the record.
John Sparks. 1993, Charles Court. Milford, Michigan. 483.
And how much was square foot you doing now?
3200. Yes.
Okay, any other public comment? All right. We'll close the public hearing at 6:57. And then the next item is to consider approval of a use requiring special approval, number 1702, for the expansion of existing child daycare center and preschool. Applicant John Sparks Construction, property owner Andrea Saracen, All Stars Preschool LLC.
I would move approval of the use requiring special approval for the All-Star Preschool.
Support. Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Vote please.
Mr. Savion?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carried.
There you go. Thank you very much. Appreciate this. Thanks for such a long time frame. I mean, I can't believe how many years it's been with that preschool. How many is it?
We've been in business for 19 years.
19 years. Okay, I was giving you a little bit more. But it's still a long
It was
time.
Highland Montessori before that, and purchased it.
Oh, okay. So it's been active there for quite a while.
Is the Montessori not there anymore?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Because I thought that's where it was, and I was looking through the papers, and it doesn't say that anymore.
2007, we acquired space.
Well, good luck.
When the senior starts getting back into his childhood days, we need to go.
I have a special place for you.
Is that question for a friend?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is to consider approval of farmland preservation program application. Applicants Keith and Kimberly Porath, 4395 Lone Tree Road. Parcel numbers H1131-100-009 and H1131-100-0017. I don't know how many of you were able to really read that through and understand. It's pretty, when you go through the application, this is what the benefits are to the landowner who's enrolled in the program. There's tax credits. The benefits under a farmland agreement will depend upon the property tax assessed against the property and the income of the landowner. For example, if the owner has an income of $20,000 and property taxes on farm total $2,000, she would subtract $700 or 3.5% of $20,000 from the $2,000 property tax for an income tax credit of $1,300. This tax credit is in addition to the homestead property tax credit for which the landowner may already be qualified. Now, if there's any special assessments like sewer, water, something that would be assessed against the lands that qualify and are enrolled in the program are exempted from special assessments for sanitary sewers, water, lights, or non-farm drainage unless the assessments are imposed prior to the recording of the farmland agreement. The land which is exempted from the special assessment will be denied use of the improvement unless and until that portion of the special assessment directly attributable to the actual use of the improvement is paid. When the farmland agreement is terminated, the local government may require payment of the special assessment. However, the amount of the assessment shall not exceed the amount the assessment would have been at the time of the exemption and shall not include any interest or penalty. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So what they're doing is they have a fairly large parcel of land. They'd like to get the tax credit on it. I don't know what the numbers are or the value is, but the township has to give our permission for them to be able to get that.
My question would be, what's the benefit to the township, and what's the detriment of it? Lower the taxes we collect on that too then?
No, what this is, it's a tax credit on income taxes,
Okay.
so it doesn't affect their property taxes at all.
And what restrictions then do they have to put on the property in order to get those credits?
It just has to be farmed.
Or how long of a time frame? It's gotta have some,
10 years, right?
Yeah, there's a time period, I don't know if it's exactly 10, maybe extendable. It's one of the things that is that there's like a percentage of the land has to be farmed, so it can't just be, 1 acre out of 100 acres, it's gotta be 40-50%.
and who checks on that?
Yeah, that's a state. We don't have any authority to do that. We just have a requirement through the application to get permits. So we
It
get
was
to sign.
agreed on for at least 10 years, I think the request is for 10 years.
Yeah, the request is for 10 years, so they need to farm it during that time of the exemption. And then, they can choose to reapply after that, or, they can drop it after that,
And they have one on the contiguous property in Highland already?
as I understand it, yes.
I believe this might be the Giggler family,
That's what
no
I'm.
relation to the Gigglers that farm all the stuff in Livingston County and has the farm supply.
So there's no detriment to the township to do that?
I didn't see any, unless you have special assessments, which I don't think you do.
Not their,
I looked at it,
Yeah, it doesn't exempt them from it. It's just for 10 years, they don't have to pay it. After the 10 years, then they will have to pay
Right,
it.
transfer the property, they have to pay the special assessment.
I didn't go to the statute to read it, but I looked at the materials in the packet and I saw no downside.
just never seen one of these before.
I have not either.
Means or so. All right, so, we would like to make a motion.
Motion to support, specified.
Okay. Guess I need maybe to clarify that motion.
Motion would be to approve the application and authorize the clerk to complete it.
Support.
As said by the attorney.
So Joe made the motion, and I support it.
What you said. All right.
Made by the attorney.
Yes.
Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
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 I want to just say yes for fun.
How many
Yes,
acres are
everything.
in that parcel, did you say?
How many
You want a
acres?
longer
Seven,
motion?
like 76.
76 acres.
We need one? All right, we can move on from that one. The next item, Mr. Fire Chief,
Yes, sir.
You're on.
you're on this one.
Thanks for the opportunity. We're at Crossroads. We're currently at a crossroads. The fire and EMS reporting system that we use has been around for a long time. It's severely antiquated, not very practical or functional for modern use. As of December of 2017, the federal government is going to require the next level of reporting for EMS runs. The system we currently use is not capable of doing that. We can continue with this system, but we'll have to buy an additional reporting system for EMS runs alone, which could run anywhere from, depending on the system you go with, $3,000 to $5,000. But it's the everyday uses of the system that aren't functional with the current Columbus system. They are working on a new system, but there's no time frame in place to get that rolled out. And it's just slowing our progress and our process down. We've done a lot of research over the last few months, and in front of you is a bid for a new program. It's called Hitch Trend. It's the same program the state of Michigan uses. You'll see highlighted on the packet, $1,125 discount. once everything's finalized with the state, we get an $1,125 discount on the program, so they'll end up with the total price you see at the bottom of an annual fee of $4,500. It's $10,000 up front to purchase the program, purchase the rights to it, and that's $4,500 a year after that. Currently, we pay $5,000 a year to Plymouth for the use of their programs, so there will be a savings there. The other savings is currently everything we do is paper, and everybody knows how much I love paper. They do a paper report off the field, they come back to the office, they enter it, they staple everything, they ship it off. They enter it into the computer, the new system. It can be done by a tablet, it can be done out in the field. Everything will be done on the go. It's a web-based program. And they can do everything from scheduling to inspections. We'll go out on an inspection, do an inspection, enter the email address before we leave the office or the business, push send, they have the email before we can walk out the door. It's just an amazing program. I think it'll be very functional, very friendly for the staff, for my staff to use, and to get a recommendation to purchase the image trend. Again, the first year is $10,000 and $4,500 after.
Ken, does that include any training for your staff, or are you
Yep,
responsible for that?
Nope, it does have 4 webinar trainings in the program. It's pretty simple to use. I've got a demo site right now, and I have let some of the firefighters just play with it, just to kick the tires, drive around the block once or twice. They put in EMS and fire runs, and they said, "Oh my goodness, is this easy?" So,
We had Tammy and Judy and I went over to the chief's office yesterday, and Judy had questions about connectivity, or why would we be moving away from the county or a county system, and I think that what we were shown was, if you're not familiar with what kind of work you have to do in terms of required reporting, all the way to basically ends up at the federal level at some point. The current Plymouth one is like, you're looking at a little screen like this, they're typing in all this stuff in these weird drop-down menus, and I don't know, the new one may be hopefully improved, but we were able to look at this particular image trend, and just by looking at it, you can understand it would be very much more simple to be able to enter in data. And as a firefighter, you'd understand some of the terminology, but as a lay person, you can, well, this newer one was night and day. But I think that the key is that the county has known about this for some time, and they have been kind of like not moving along. What's the end of 2018? They have this time?
no, 2017. December 2017.
Right.
End of this year, the new NEMSIS is National Emergency Medical Service Information System. That's a federal entity that collects all the data and says we've had 427 deaths from power nail guns, or that's where they get the information from, is the reporting systems. The new system is required at the end of this year.
And the county isn't there yet. And this one's already developed and up and running and used by multiple, not only the state, but other communities. Commerce has switched over, is that correct?
Commerce has just signed on, they're not switched over yet, it's about a 90-day process.
Is Milford on that yet?
Milford is using Plymouth, but they also purchased the new EMS reporting software, ESL. This is an all-inclusive, all-in program that covers everything.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
No, we need to continue to be on current with so this will be.
Well, and it's the demand on the individual employees. I mean, if you're trying to get good information, you want to be able to make it so that they can get it in accurately and timely, and not, you said, you write it all down on paper, then you come back and have to recipe it and type it into the computer.
If you ever see a fireman work on a computer, it's kind of like this. So anything to make it easier for them?
Easier and more accurate.
Yes.
It's easier to put in, more likely to put accurate.
few letters that already spells them out, spelling error.
Make a motion to support the purchase acquisition of the necessary equipment.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Roll,
Mr.
please.
Powell?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Chief, for helping out, especially yesterday. I mean, that cleared up a lot of stuff. It would have been nice to be able to show the whole board, but it would take a little more time than we have here tonight, so. Next item is budget amendment, and this budget amendment is explained under, is the transfer of funds, reducing the levy obligation by paying Dan's excavation detour flagging invoice of 15-1346-01 revised. This occurred when they were flagging for the repaving of Hickory Ridge Road. And so it was a way for us to reduce the obligation to levy from a number of years ago. So we're using that, moving that number down. So we have to make a motion to approve.
I would move to approve the budget amendment. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on that? Vote please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
All right. Next item, list of bills.
It includes some email add-on items. I printed out a copy of the email there for you.
A couple questions on the list of bills. On, under general government, there's a,
That local community stabilization authority under the metro fees. State paid us the wrong Highland Township money. So that's a refund to them,
that
so
was
they
one
can
of them
send
that
it to the
stuck
right.
out. The other one was, a rental for a trailer to Rick Hamill. What trailer are we renting to?
It was a trailer that I rented and I had to use my credit card. So,
Oh, you don't have the township credit card?
I didn't have the township credit card at that time. And that was to haul soil away from the property here.
And then there was a check to Eddie Swaba for 500 under, I think it was the DDA.
DDA, you said?
Yeah. Under DDA events for the Red, White Boot Festival.
Oh, that's the band.
Oh, okay.
And she had a sponsor for that.
Okay. And then on the second list of bills, there's two checks under summer concert for DDA again. One is for Dan Glenn. Is that a band also? That's $400?
Yes.
I didn't hear her.
That's the in-flight.
Actually, that's probably for the Leaky Tikis.
Oh, okay.
There's probably two to the same person. Is that what you're saying?
No, there was one to him for 400 and one to Joe Gaglio for 675.
Yeah, they're for the concert series.
They're bands?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're bands.
Oh, it doesn't say that, so I, I just went, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I move to accept the list of bills, June 28, 2017, July 12, 2017, and add-ons.
Support.
Okay, move to support. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
All right, public comment. Dennis?
Okay, can you finish?
Oh, okay. Dennis, hold on just a
So I
second.
just got three really quick things.
Oh, go ahead.
The final column, page 1, Ribs on the River, benefit for Ron Tabbage, a fallen firefighter from Milford. They did a charity event for him last Saturday. Our department put in 2 teams. We took 3rd and 9th. One was up in smoke, and one was up in smoke ski. It was Polish contingency.
Cheech and Chong were there?
It was smoked ribs.
Okay.
And also on page 7, for anybody watching out in TV land or any of the folks here, our ISO rating dropped in the township. You should see a marked change in your property insurance, not property taxes, property insurance, when your policy renews. So make sure you pay attention to that. We have talked to one insurance agent in town. They said it's somewhere around $250 to $270 a year. So that's a pretty significant change for the community. And then nice job, Judy, on your article about the taxes in town. That was it.
The lowest taxes in the surrounding 6 communities.
It was pretty impressive.
Awesome.
We probably got that right, so we'll see.
Just to, I don't know if I did that right. So you said 250? Let's say if that's the average times, there's more than this, but say 6,500 residents. That's $1,625,000 aggregate savings to the community by dropping that ISO. And that's significant.
And some will see even more because if they were in the old ISO score is 5.8B, now we're 4Y. If they were in the 8B area, they're 4Y. Y says there's not a hydrant within 500 feet of the house, but there's significant water supply provided by the community with our tankers, our tanker pumpers, and then the pumpers. So they should be, you can see that.
So, thank you for working on that. I think that's a critical thing. So, you might not call it a tax saving, but it absolutely is. And from the point of view that we save everybody's community an aggregate amount of money, which is significant. So, thanks again on that. Okay, Dennis.
Okay, being that the police department issued a ticket on him for not operating legally, and the attorney said that opens up a whole new situation, does that now proceed for him to go and file whatever he has against that operation? It's a whole separate incident now. Now, the police opened it up, they said he is in violation. Why does the attorney now say that it's a whole separate issue? Doesn't this give him the ability to go out there and pursue this?
I'm not sure in the
No, it's a separate incident.
Let me first apologize for getting a little testy.
Yeah.
I think we both understand that. We probably got a similar kind of a testiness there, so I apologize for that. But I'll let Lieutenant Snyder answer that question.
My understanding is the first case stemmed in 2006 and they added to it. Your more recent one that you're talking about where the township that did go to court, he was assessed a $1,000 fine. There is certain stipulations to that. At this point, there was already a judgment on that. It will still be tacked onto that if there's any more violations, but it'll be on a case by you calling us. Recently, at the last board meeting, I told you to contact us. You contacted us twice, one for a neighbor complaint and one for this, where he was issued a citation. But you gotta understand, that citation was issued under state law, not local ordinance. So that's gonna be a totally separate case from what the township is. It's gonna be totally, we can pay attention to it. Paul Brook, the township attorney, is gonna track it through the court system because it's the same court, but it's a totally separate case.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Those three violations we went to court, he has been in violation of court order every time. Mr. Brock told me that S.A. Lane is a separate incident and that he can't do anything on it because it's a separate case from that one. His records indicate that he was in violation of 6039. as soon as we went to court, 1 week after, he moved his operation to S.A. Lane. And that's when Mr. Brock told me that it's a separate incident and that I would have to file an affidavit. I keep getting tired about this affidavit. Okay, there is now a separate incident, it's in violation, the police department voted, and Mr. Brock says now that, to me, it is a separate incident, and he should be able to go in there and pursue it. It has nothing to do with 6039 anymore. It's on S.A. Lane.
Mr. Raymond, I understand your frustration, but you gotta understand from our point of view, and we do this for many offenses under the township ordinance, we require the citizens to be our witnesses. You're the one that lives, and you know what, you spend a lot of time, I'm not denying you, I understand your frustration, but I'm just saying, if you would be willing to fill out a statement and come to court and be our witness for us, it would help us. That's all we're saying. It would help us
And the
greatly.
last time I went to court and I did that, guess what? Trish, who was the township supervisor, and Lisa did not testify. I was the one. I was the one that got threatened. Now, I keep saying, Lisa told me she's got to go there. You got the fire thing. What about these individuals? They're officers, and he's in violation of state and local ordinances. Now, again, he's running a junkyard out of there. That's against the state law. He's running a junkyard, more than 10 cars. What I'm trying to say is you keep putting the onus on me. Whereas in fact, when all this started, it took Lisa 6 months to contact the attorney. And again, you're putting it on me. She was the one that was supposed to go down there and look at the ordinance. And if she would have said, hey, I got this, Dennis, do you want to do something? I would have done it. But now, a no trespassing sign goes up, so now I'm the guy, okay, and I've been threatened by him through my neighbor. I am tired of this because there are other situations, okay, court appearances, which it says in here, that all of you people have a right to do it if you feel that there is something that's wrong. It's state law.
Well, let me just say this, right? All right, since the last meeting I told you to contact us.
Right.
You called us twice.
Right.
We've taken documentation on that.
Right.
You know, instead of the township, the sheriff's department's come into this case and trying to help you out, all right? So, even this neighbor complaint, our patrol cars are videotaped. We have been in contact with the township attorney. We weren't in the loop with the information on this case, all right? Now the sheriff's department is on the loop with this. We do have the court records of what the stipulations for this case are. So even that neighbor complaint you called where you thought he was throwing rocks at you at the mailbox,
Right, yeah.
we have now a legal right to go speak to him because you called us.
Right.
And we have cameras in our car. So you gotta understand, this isn't gonna be an overnight fix. But what, we're gonna resolve it for you, but you also gotta work with us a little bit. And what I told you is you call us every time, we'll come every time. We have tools here. By us going there and talking to them and our cameras rolling, that's gonna help us see if there's a violation of the original court order. So be patient with us. You know, we will have copies of this. We're building our case, you know, for these violations, and we will get a resolution for you.
But what am I asking is why doesn't the attorney, who has the power to go to the court, and he keeps telling me, I need an affidavit, it's a separate,
I can't answer that.
Oh, okay,
Unfortunately, I
I want
can't.
the board to answer me. This has been going on since 2006, and now the attorney tells me that S.A. Lane is a separate incident. The incident has now been verified by your department. Therefore, the attorney should start some kind of proceeding. It has nothing to do with the other three, because he's moved his operation right down the street. Now, if this guy, you keep telling me, what about the ordinance officer that waited 6 months before something got done?
Okay.
Tell me why.
Mr. Raymond, you've made more than enough point about our feelings.
I know.
All right? More than enough point about our feelings. We have since, when you came into my office and I said, let's see what we can do, we have been working on this. And it's not jumping up and down like you think it is, but you're also disregarding the fact that things are happening while you say we're not doing anything. I'm not going to respond to every single email you send and say thank you. I asked you to send an email. We take that documentation. The problem is we can't take your documentation and use it in court. And that's what the attorney is telling us. You need to file an affidavit. Okay, and on that, The other side of it is, Mr. Daniel Scott at 1665 SA Lane is the individual,
Right.
not Jeremy Stocker.
No, I know.
So now you have two cases,
Right.
and now we have two things we have to deal with.
Okay.
And we're gonna deal with them, and we're gonna work hard as we can to make it happen. We cannot trespass. You're saying, can the fire chief go there? Yes, he can go there. But I could probably tell you, and Gary, cut me off if I'm wrong here, he can go there for fire-related stuff, but he can't say, oh, by the way, while I was there, I was noticing all these other things, all these cars and stuff, because it's irrelevant to why he's there.
Okay, but.
So we can't use the fire
Okay, fine, but
chief for
still,
that.
I'm telling you.
So we
your
have to get
officer-
instances, now we know, we've been to this other guy's place, there's been a citation levied, now he can't work out of there. Now the police can go, when you call, the police can go to those, correct me if I'm wrong, to those two addresses, either one of them, with their cameras rolling, respond, and then we can start to take it from there, and hopefully the guy's gonna get the point. Now I'm gonna back up even further. When I first got into office, a little over 4 years ago, Jeremy Stocker, that was 2011 actually, when that previous court case was that you were talking about, in front of Judge Powers. All right. What happened there was he got told that he can't have those, any of that stuff there, including his tow trucks.
Right, I was there.
So he had to move. So what we did is we found he moved to, I think it was,
Sunoco station.
well, that was one of them, but he moved to another place and didn't pay him, and he asked him to move. And then he went to the Sunoco station, and we helped him get into that. And the whole object was, run your business out of a place where it's supposed to be. So he's going along, quote, legally, although pushing some buttons on that one too, going along legally, and doesn't pay his landlord. New ownership comes in, they boot him out the door. Now he's back at your place, okay, across from you again. Now, then you come back to us. Now we're trying, and I'm not standing up for anybody in our department saying that we did a stellar job of trying to make this work. So what I'm trying to do is figure out, what can we do now to rectify it? We can't go back and start smacking everybody up for something they did in the past. We have to rectify that and say, going forward, we're not gonna do it this way anymore. That's what we're working on. We've had the conversations with the people that are in our building that need to have a conversation, how do you handle this? So going forward, we have to learn from, unfortunately, our mistakes. So we're working on that. You have to give it the time that it takes to do it. It's driving you nuts.
I know, but
I
what
know
I'm
it
trying to tell you is that your officer is telling you these things, that she has to go there with the building inspector for his permit for not getting an electrical permit. She told me that, oh, I'll be able to see what else is going on over there, and I'll be able to, let you know what's going on. I'm only telling you what she is telling me. She's also telling me she has to go and inspect those pots. Okay, she said, once I get there, I'll be able to, see what else he's got there. I'm not, you're telling me it's my fault. I'm telling you this is what she is telling me, and it's not getting done. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you know that there's cars over there?
Yeah,
How do you know that?
because I seen him come out of his driveway,
Does it mean that they're still on the
and I
property?
took a picture of it. I gave it to her. She's got the pictures in the file. I have copies of it. Yes, I seen him coming out of there. I snapped a picture. I gave it to her. Sat on it for 6 months. All I'm telling you is that
We've got
I'm
that.
being told by your officer, and then, again, nothing went done.
Now, that's
6
okay.
months.
Yes, sir.
Your first item says Lisa told me, when did she tell you that?
After the last court in February. I don't have the exact date. I went in there to talk to her about it. She said, oh yeah, I gotta go in for, because he didn't file a permit for his electrical, I gotta go in there and inspect the pods. This was all after
So
February
February,
14th, after the court.
So let's find out, if Lisa was supposed to do that, why hasn't she got up?
She did do it.
She got it right.
Yeah, and he's got a right to have the pods on his property. By ordinance.
Yeah,
But
well,
they
she
have to be in a
told me-
specific place. They got moved from the front, where they were a nightmare,
Right.
and they got put where they're supposed to be, with the building inspector there, and nothing was on the property. Now, what do you want us to do? That's what I'm
Well, I
saying, is
wasn't
we can't
told-
go in
when
there
I sent
any
an
other
email-
way. But you're saying she's not doing her job. But in fact, since we had the first conversation, where you and your neighbor came in, and I said, I don't know what's going on here. I'm not sitting in Lisa's chair, and it's not, I don't feel it's even adequate to be wasting my time sitting in Lisa's chair to do her job. The expectation is she should be doing her job.
So the first two items, let me finish talking.
I'm sorry.
So the first two items have been resolved to some extent?
Yes.
Okay. The third item, fire chief, fire inspection. Now, he can go out there and inspect, and if he finds things that might be in violation or be fire hazards, that would cause another opportunity to get in there and do some things. He's got fluids and things laying around, you know?
No, because
It's irrelevant to the
you
case.
can go to any private residence anytime you want.
Well, the point is, if the fire inspector can go out there and sees things that are dangerous to the premise or to the community, he has the authority to report that. Somebody needs to go out there and remedy. Is that possible?
That's not a problem based on what our building inspector saw. So if it's a fire hazard, yeah, you could go out and inspect it for that, but, correct me if I'm wrong here, if you're, do that, yes. It's irrelevant to the other operation.
Well, the point is that if we start getting even because there's other issues that are fire problems, that's putting additional pressure on it.
I'm not sure that's the right thing to do, yes, sir.
So, I'm not handling this case,
Case, correct.
but just some basic things, and I hearken back. I was here last month when I heard this same thing. I remember hearing that one of these properties, you can't really see anything from the road. Is that the SA Lane property? Or
Right.
So, I mean, just general rules when it comes to what evidence can be admitted in court. You know, a public official, whether it's Lisa or the fire chief, or even the sheriff's department, you know, they have a right to make observations of property from a public place. Okay, and what you can see from the public place may or may not give you reason to believe that there's a violation. You just don't have the right to enter someone's property if there's notice against trespass, find violations, and expect a court to allow you to introduce evidence of those in court. To be able to use evidence seen on property, you either have to have the right to be there, and the best way to have that right is to get a search warrant. That doesn't mean you have to take things away. It's just that you have a search warrant gives you the right to be on the property for a specific purpose and gather evidence. You get a search warrant by having an affidavit presented to the court that provides the basic framework of why you have reason to believe there's a violation back there behind the trees. Well, if you can't see it from the road, then you have to have some evidence to show the judge or the magistrate to that effect. Well, your code enforcement officer, the sheriff's department, isn't going to sit on the property 24/7 waiting to see for themselves what may be going on back there. If Mr. Groth told this gentleman that he needed an affidavit, I have to believe it was to allow for a search warrant to be requested from the court.
That's not what I was told.
I don't know what you were told.
I know. I'm just saying.
I've listened to you now for 2 meetings.
Right.
And I'm looking at a letter from Mr. Groth indicating that the last court hearing, that it would have been helpful to have direct testimony from neighbors or other witnesses. My familiarity with the court system in these kind of cases, it is important to have that kind of testimony. So it is not just the township against John Doe defendant. Judges have a lot of discretion when it comes to what they do with a set of facts that's presented to them. And my experience has been if they see that a problem is not just a problem to the township, but it's a problem to the people that live in that area, as evidenced by those folks taking the time out of their schedule to come to court and tell what they know, it can have a bearing on what the court will do. I've looked at the 2006 order. It's a strong order in terms of what the township can do if there are violations, and the series of orders that have been entered since then. Each time the court retains jurisdiction to enforce that order. So it really becomes a matter, at least as far as Fish Lake Road goes, to be able to show that. Now, if that's not the issue, then you are basically starting from scratch. That 2006 order is specific to a property. It has nothing to do with this new property. So I assume that the goal is to get that kind of an order on the new property, but you have to start by having evidence sufficient to show the violation. And if you don't have a township employee, if a sheriff's officer doesn't have the right to be back there, and they go back there anyway and see violations, at the end of the day, you're probably not going to be able to admit that in evidence, and you're going to lose the case. So,
I gave her a
you
picture.
know, that
I'm
it
sorry.
is not uncommon for neighbors to not want to subject themselves to possible retaliation from their neighbor for ratting them out, testifying in court against them. It is an unfortunate commentary on some of the folks in our society that they react that way when they are the ones that are in fact violating the law. But it's a system that we are left with. It stems from, I think we call it the Constitution. You know, it's been around a long time. People are free from unreasonable searches and seizures, and you know, so you can argue all you want with that this is the way it shakes out, but at the end of the day, if the township's prosecuting attorney is saying, I need this kind of help, and he's not getting it, I'm not sure how much the township can do or should do.
I got one, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One more point to it. How many residents or neighbors are supporting you on this suggestion? Are you the only one?
No, there's
How many?
3.
Is there anybody else in that neighborhood that is affected by all this turmoil?
No, not that I know of. None of
3.
them have come, just the 3 of us. And one thing I gotta say, Mr. the attorney here, I gave Lisa a picture of S.A. Lane way before all the weeds and all the foliage. So, again, I gave it to her back in March. I got it dated. I think I gave it to you at the last meeting, and it wasn't acted on. So, again, if she would have said, thanks for the picture, I'll go out there, but no, didn't do anything, and then when the no trespassing sign, she got blocked in by whoever that guy that lives over there. So all I'm saying is that you want my help, I'm not getting help on the other end. I have supplied pictures, documents. All he said, again, saying, I'll keep repeating it, she would have said, thanks for the picture, I'll go out there and let's get it together. I would have done it, but again, I gave her the picture and it wasn't acted on. So, from the attorney's standpoint, that's why I keep fighting the affidavit, because I didn't get any help from your department.
If the 3 neighbors get together and have a joint affidavit,
Well, the thing is, he's already, in my notes here, you'll see how many times he's threatened everybody, okay? And he's threatened Lisa also. Again, she didn't file anything against him. Again, nothing. You know, she didn't file a complaint with the police report. Again, it's me and the neighbor. I'm not getting, what I'm trying to say is all this information was given way before all this would have started. All I needed was help. If she would have said, yeah, then let's
Lisa
go,
said she
I would have
was-
done it.
was Lisa-
But instead of put it all on me, and then I got nailed in court telling me that, oh, I got too much time on my hands by the judge.
Lisa told you she was threatened by him?
She did.
Did
She
Lisa
told
tell you
me,
that?
she told me that I have it in the email, that she gave him a mouthful and everything else. I have it in my emails. I'll be glad to pull it out.
I think it comes up.
Gary, would you like to?
Well, I mean, sending a picture to Lisa doesn't mean Lisa can somehow magically testify that on that day, at that time, that's what the property looked like. This gentleman could testify to that. She can't.
So she didn't walk it the next day,
if
and
she
there's 10
walked in-
cars out there.
If she can't, I mean, you're getting into rules of evidence that, but I mean, she can't take that photograph, sign an affidavit, and go in and try to get a search warrant, because first thing the judge says, well, can you testify that this is what it looked like on that day at that time? No. Somebody else can.
Right.
I mean, that photograph, for instance, could be an attachment to an affidavit.
That's
This
exactly
gentleman
what
provided.
But the
attorney
same
was asking.
point is, she had to go out there the next day, she could have went out there, 2 days, 3 days. He had 10, 15 cars there, the photos showed that. So he's running a junkyard, okay? So the attorney is right, it's not gonna be what I see, but the fact is she didn't go out there. If she would have went there was no trespassing there. She has been on Stocker's property many times over the years just by driving in and checking on him. She has told me that. The attorney keeps telling me, oh, these pictures. Why didn't she go 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days and got the pictures? He was running a junkyard, 10,
Okay.
15 cars.
All right, thank you very much. That's, Gary, you have any other?
It's a frustrating area of law to many people, but, from the prosecution side of it, if you're going to go after a violation, you want to do it in a proper procedurally proper way. It doesn't make sense to gather evidence that might be excluded by the court. And the safest way to gather evidence in these kind of cases is to have a search warrant requested from and approved by the court. That way, anything that is observed is usable in evidence in the case. And if your prosecuting attorney is suggesting, if that's why he's asking for an affidavit, so that there can be that entry on the property to gather evidence of a violation, then I think you have to go with what your prosecuting attorney that's familiar with the case is recommending.
And that's exactly what we're doing, and that's what I'm trying to tell you, Dennis. Is that we're working, I'm sorry.
Okay, number 13 says, how about issuing a search warrant?
And if the gentleman won't provide the affidavit, then he won't provide the affidavit. He has his own reasons, and
Yeah, to protect my family, my wife from being threatened, and my neighbor's kid and wife from being, attacked. That's why.
and yet he's in your public meetings making the same complaints after he identifies himself. I don't know what the difference is. Sign an affidavit for a court action, come to the township board in a public meeting and complain. That's not a legal comment, it's just a personal observation. I don't see the difference.
And that's one of the reasons I got a little testy with you, is that that's exactly the point it made. Our attorney, handling the case, asked if you went to your home and asked you if you would sign an affidavit. And he had an avenue right there. If you had said yes, I'll sign an affidavit, you didn't have to go to court. All you had to do was turn over the evidence that you felt was correct, and then you would be represented in court with that
He
information.
told me I had to go to court.
That's not what I heard.
Well, that's next time I'll record everything, okay? He told me I had to go to court. I'm telling you.
It's a multi-step process. An affidavit to get the search warrant, if it's issued, gets the township personnel on the property to gather the evidence. Okay? At some point, there's gonna be a hearing or a trial. Whether the civilian witnesses are needed at that trial is a call to be made at the time. Maybe, based on the search, if it's identified the violations, the citizens aren't needed as witnesses. Or they might be called, not because they're needed, but because it would buttress the case and show the judge, this is not just a township versus John Doe problem. This is a problem that's affecting other people. Judges have lots of discretion in terms of what they do on these cases.
Regardless of what happens, whether you have an affidavit or not, they're still going to be angry with you, period. Because you're the catalyst that started all of it, whether you give an affidavit or not. So by not doing an affidavit, you're not changing any potential problems that would cause you any peril. Correct? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've already lit the fire, and whether somebody else goes on the property it's true, and they take it all out, you're still going to be the bad guy to this guy, no matter what happens.
So maybe I get subject to my wife being threatened, me being threatened, the neighbor's kid being threatened.
I'm just
That's
saying,
what I gotta get.
either way, that could create that problem. That could be the problem.
Dennis, want to pull any positives out of this, I think one of the things, the reason I've let this conversation go on tonight is the board doesn't often have an opportunity to get their nose stuck in something like this. And I'm not trying to rub anybody's nose or have you rub our nose in anything, you know. We didn't come on as elected officials to, quote, get abused. We can take, you know, conversation and questions, did we, you know, you can question whether we did our job or not. I think this one went a little further than that, and I also went a little further than I probably should have, but the point being that it's a learning process. Going forward, changes need to be made. And those are things that since the first time you came into my office have been happening. You keep bringing them up, but they're past things that had happened prior to you coming to my office. And since then, we've had the conversations, we've had the police involved, we've had the lawyer involved. I had you have a sit down with a lawyer. So it's not that we haven't been doing anything. But the key here is we got to hear some things from our attorney, that helps the board understand better what is the township's position on things like this. When we write an ordinance, what does that ordinance do? And how can we enforce that ordinance? So there's value, albeit in a hard-earned way, to what's gone on here. We don't want this to happen again. You're persistent as all get out. That's not a bad thing. It's hard for us to handle it because it comes on from a different approach. It's hard for you to handle it because it seems like we're not doing anything. We are trying this, and we're trying to make this go away. But when I say hands tied, our hands are tied a lot tighter than anybody wants to believe. Just because we got elected doesn't give us any authority over anybody other than ourselves and what our own actions are. We have to follow the rest of the law, just like anybody else does. So our hands are tied to the point where we have to work within the law, and that's what we're trying to do. You're asking us to try and skirt that. Even though you don't like it, that's what you're asking us to do. We can't do it. Can we modify the behavior of some of the employees within our environment here? Yes, we can. Will we do that? Yes, we will. But this is a learning thing, so I think it's valuable to all of the board members here to understand this. It's really valuable for me to hear from an attorney the conversation. I have had it personally with Paul Grove. I know what I can and can't say, pretty much. Sometimes I say too much, but nobody else has had that opportunity to hear that. And thank you. I mean, I don't like being stood up like this. I don't like being put in this position. Nobody else does. And we don't like you being in the position you're in. But as I said, we have a bunch of ordinances, and now guess what? We got to look at these things. How do you handle it? And so there's a lot to that.
Some of them are just ridiculous. I just got a question. If Paul can call me, I got this one on these. I have a legal question for him on these appearance tickets. From what I'm reading, okay, any of these officers can go down there, whether, and I got to find out from them, okay, whether these appearance tickets, the no trespassing sign overrides an appearance ticket in violation of Michigan criminal law? I want to know.
I will have him give you a call.
Okay, because it says in the ordinance that you have a right to do it. It doesn't say anything else. Now, maybe this attorney can explain that to me, but
Well,
I'd rather talk to Paul.
I think we've gone as far as we can go right now. I appreciate your intensity.
Take that next step. That would be a good next step.
Unless,
We need to visit our ordinances.
well, or our enforcement policy or process, we need to look at that. So we will do this.
The thing that gets me is someone could be running an illegal operation because they put a no trespassing sign up. That means you people can't do your jobs. That's all I gotta do. I mean, I can put cars in, I can do this, I can do that, and all I gotta do is put up a no trespassing sign. Basically, that's what I'm being told. Put up a no trespassing sign, I can violate all the ordinances I want, and you have to catch me. And if you catch me, I'll move it over here. If you catch me, I'll move it back. That's what he's doing. That's all I'm saying. A no trespassing sign, trumps all of this stuff. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's the right to privacy.
Well,
It's one of the things
I
that's
guess I'll be
guaranteed
putting up
to
some
us by the
businesses around my house.
Constitution,
I think we should probably close the discussion.
yeah, I think we'll,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Something positive? Could you say something
I need to
positive?
make a comment. just in case anyone's worried about me being in uniform, I came directly from my Elton Black funeral home for a veteran friend that I did not have time to go home and change, so normally I would not be in appearance. It's not appropriate, but I'm here. I have a babysit, so Emily came along with me. We got here at no time to change, so please understand that.
On that note,
Hold on.
oh, Gary, yes, sir.
You've gotten your primer on the Fourth Amendment. Do you want to hear about self-incrimination under the Fifth?
Yeah, go ahead, let me have it.
No. Already end on a light note.
All right, I appreciate it very
We'll
much.
save that for next time.
Yeah, lesson
Next
month.
meeting.
Yeah, the next meeting. Okay, on that note, any other public comment?
Emily, how'd you enjoy the meeting? This is her first trustee.
No, we were getting done at
Okay.
7:25.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Good job, Cal. Thank you, Jerry.
I work outside the office,
I know by the tree there, so you think we'll put up by the post.
No, that's just showing one part.
The other one's this one I'm getting probably by the.
Yeah, one of these.
Way back. Hires
You have to watch. So it might have to happen before you do it, so I set it up the time. And then I will go to, especially this site, yeah, this one has got a problem out here. It's in here, yes. So I will go around and we'll mark the spots and I'll make sure.
It's probably better
But give me a copy of the calendar.
order that.
No, I'm the right way.
All right.